Whenever you're in a room with the Cochise County Sheriff and the Cochise County Attorney, you either know one of two things. Number one, you are in serious trouble, or number two, you're Jeff Davenport. Welcome, everybody, to Jeff Davenport Live, a very special episode brought to you by Cool FM Live. We are here to have an important discussion about some things that are going on in our county right now as we speak. The ballots are in the mail or in your mailbox for the jail district tax vote that is coming up. And on top of that, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a NIJO report and some reasons why this report came out. But very first, right off the bat, we have some breaking news this afternoon. First of all, Lori, Sheriff Mark, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Mark, there was an incident at the jail today with a fire.
Yeah, about 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning, the call came in from our staff at the jail that there was a fire in the kitchen. We went into protocol lockdowns, got in there. We had a motor that actually got hot. I call it mechanical protocols failed. I'll just tell you right now, we had 6 people treated as a result of this at the jail, thanks to Bisbee Fire, Bisbee Police Department, Sheriff's Office, and the men and women within the jail. They did everything right in a facility that's a time bomb. I'll just say it like that. It's a facility that's extended its life. It's time to go. And this is another reason why I have a hard time with this jail. It's outdated. It's time. And again, and my thoughts for the 3 kitchen staff, the 2 inmates that were injured, along with our 1 detention officer. So this is my biggest thing, Jeff. We're going to talk about this NIJO report. Is my job as a sheriff is to safeguard the men and women, to include the inmates in that jail. And I need the infrastructure. I need the facility and resources to do that. And that's why Lori and I as a team, have been working so hard to make sure we get that done.
And that's where we're going to transition right now. So that's breaking news of the injuries from the fire sustained at the jail this morning that started in the kitchen. And this is, again, thoughts and prayers, like you said, to all those who've been injured. And thank you to all those first responders who were there on site immediately to be able to get all of that addressed in a timely manner. Let's shift over to this NIJO report. Is it National Institute of Jail Operations? Is that what it stands for?
It's exactly what it stands for. National Institute of Jail Operations, NIJO. Everybody's talking NIJO. Most people don't know what that means. It's a nationally accredited organization that helps those that run detention correctional facilities to look at their operations, look at their infrastructure, to help them along. So years back, we brought them in my tenure as sheriff, to look at our facility, knowing that we were at the end of the rope with this facility. We wanted an expert. I'm not an expert in that, Jeff. And my jail commander, Kenny Bradshaw, is a retired deputy warden who's got his almost 40 years of experience in this. He's the closest I have to an expert, but we wanted an outside opinion on this. They come in, spend a lot of time with my staff, the operation, myself, talked to us, looked at things, and here it is. It rolled out. It was delivered to the sheriff's office, my chief of staff, my jail commander, and myself. We read it. It didn't read well. It's a risk assessment. Let's take NIJO all the way. It's a risk assessment to our facility. We met with our legal team from the county attorney's office, went and had an executive session at the board, along with legal, my stakeholders in this from the sheriff's office, and discussed it. And that's where we're at today. We know we need a new facility. No remodels, nothing like that. This is a point where either we get a new jail or we have to go into Plan B, which that is not even discussed.
And this report just amplified that to make sure that it's aware, like you guys are aware of exactly what this independent group did, and what they came to their conclusion is the same thing that
it's a risk assessment about. This is the GPS going forward. And their recommendation, seriously put, is when we talk to them and what their portal outlined is the fact that we need to have a new facility.
And let's talk about the report itself. Is something that has been confident. This is a confidential report. This is not something that necessarily the public needs to see. It's basically like a kid saying, "Mom, I need to know exactly where the cookies are. I'm not going to do anything about it, but I need to know where the." Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is it similar to that where it is operational safety?
Yes,
that is listed in this report.
I have an operational mandate as a sheriff that the people in this county, to protect my men and women, to protect the inmate and their safe being while in the facility, but also protect the community, the public, that I uphold the laws, not the opinions. I would love to release this, Jeff. I know Lori would agree with me on this. I would love to say, here, take it, read it, and you tell me we're wrong. And that's not going to, it's so well defined. But I can't, because it jeopardizes, it weaponizes that facility. Evil will take this and use this against those, or we have a tragedy that can escape or something like that, and they use that report to find the weaknesses, and then somebody gets hurt in the community. That'll be the first thing they say, well, Sheriff, you should have never released it. It's a catch-22 for me. Recent media articles said that we are using this as leverage, Lori and I, leverage for the election. Folks, that is the most insulting thing I've ever heard. I have been very vocal on this. I know I'll let Lori speak on that about I can't release it because it's my operational risk assessment. Ask this question. Would a school release their risk assessment? Would Fort Huachuca release theirs? Would Washington, D.C., the Capitol, all that release it? They're not going to release that. What was released was decided once it was challenged 4 to 5 months ago that they want to copy it. We've had 2 requests on it, which went back into legal, and I appreciate Lori and her team. And this was the result of that we did a very highly redacted, and I'll let Lori speak on the legality of this. But if somebody don't agree with it, then they take due process to the next level. But this is how the system works, and this is how we protect our operation and the men and women within.
Let's talk about that, Lori. So looking at this assessment itself, knowing that it is a redacted assessment because there are security protocols and things like that are in place. This is a security port risk assessment, as Sheriff Mark talked about. When working with something like this, that's the main reason why the full report cannot be released to the public, correct?
Right. Well, the report was generated under attorney-client privilege as a risk assessment for the sheriff and for county risk management. If we were to release the report, it would not only be, and we talked about the security concerns as well, a blueprint for somebody to break out of the jail. It would also be a blueprint for a plaintiff's attorney, like a PI lawyer, to sue the county and cause litigation that would potentially cost the county a lot of money. So that's why we have all of these redactions, and they're basically in 2 main categories: state's best interest and attorney work product. So when you're looking at the state's best interest redactions, that's the security concerns. I mean, there are instances where it discusses blind spots in the security cameras. Like I said, other ways where people could potentially use it to break out of the jail. And then the attorney work product, those redactions go towards the risk assessment for risk management, which would be like the blueprint to sue the county, some plaintiff's lawyer doing that. So that's the 2 main areas of redactions, and that's what they both speak to.
So when looking at this, some people think that, you're using certain privileges as a way to avoid scrutiny of the fine print that is redacted in this. How do you respond to that?
No, absolutely not. We are doing what's in the best interest of the state for securing that jail, not only for like inmates not breaking out, but the risks to the men and women that work there. And so it's in just the best interest for safety and security not to release it. We were at one of the town halls, and a member of the public who worked on Fort Huachuca said, I don't understand how these people think that they can get this report. Everybody that works on post has to know that, a secure facility, there's a risk assessment. It's privileged. It's confidential. It's like top secret clearance. And to think that this report, unredacted, would be released to the public is really just ludicrous.
And so thinking about that, Sheriff Mark, why has so much of it been redacted? It's all just because, again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the NIJO report here that is released to the public, a redacted version of it, basically the security assessment and the risk assessment of the Cochise County Jail. That's the reason why.
100%, Jeff. And we've had deep conversations, lengthy conversations with Lori's office, all the way back to when we first did this. And nobody's asked for this report. It's like nobody's asking for Fort Huachuca's risk assessment right now. But now that we're going for an election, this became a topic because 2 people have asked for it, one being a media outsource and the other one being an individual, wanted this report. That's why it became over the last 4 or 5 months such a hot topic, and people have spun it into the fact that there's some conspiracy playing out. Folks, I can promise you there's no conspiracy here. This is my obligation to protect my operation. There ain't a law enforcement leader in this country who's going to release a risk assessment on their strengths and, in this case, more weaknesses of a facility and an operation. And people have asked me, you got elected county attorney, you got elected sheriff, and you got elected board of supervisors, to include one that was involved in the discussion of this back in the last board, that all are well aware what's going on here. And the current board of supervisors, Frank Antonori, Ms. Gomez, and Lori and I, we've all stood together and say, hey, we got a problem. We have a problem. And whether they read this or not, and I can't speak for the two of them, but we know we have a problem in that jail, and we're asking the public, this is democracy. This is quality of life issue under the criminal justice system and their own personal living. If we don't have a facility, what do we do with them? This morning's episode, this fire in our jail that's going to grow, I know it will, is the fact that this is why I stay up late. This is my biggest concern, Jeff, is we have a facility that we know infrastructure-wise, it's not a people protocol. The officers that work in that jail do an amazing job down there, the men and women. But I have an obligation to make sure they have the resources to do it. This is a lacking report that we don't.
And under Arizona law, maybe this is a question for you, Lori, you're allowed to release this in the redacted form.
Correct. And actually, I have my Chief Civil Deputy, Paul Correa, here, and he's going to address that in a little more detail. He was the public records attorney for the county attorney's office for many years, and now he supervises the unit, and he supervised personally the redaction. So,
awesome. So Paul, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. Looking at this, under Arizona law, it is legal to release this with the redactions for the public's consumption with the redaction.
Yeah. There's a case out of the city of Tucson that is really the seminal case called it's called Hodai. It's Bo Hodai, who is an independent journalist, and he sued the Tucson Police Department for documents about new equipment that they had been rolling out. And it's a great case because the judge goes through category by category, says you can have this, you can't have that. That's a state's interest, security interest, so that remains completely out. And some of these things can be released with redactions. And the rule then going forward is that for police investigations or any kind of law enforcement reports, the better rule is to produce something rather than nothing. But you do look at the state interests, the security concerns, and that is what this is. It's a security report. It's a risk assessment. So, one way that you could look at everything that's redacted, everything that you see in black, those are areas where this jail facility is no longer adequate. For example, Lori mentioned it indicates where there is not a clear line of sight for detention officers to have eyes on the detainees. That creates a risk for the detainees to be subject to violence in a blind spot, and that can be exploited from the outside. So I worked for the state attorney generals prior to this, and I represented the Department of Corrections, learned a lot about the level of activity of gangs, in prison and jail populations. It's here. So this information gets out to the outside. There will be bad actors out there who want to exploit it in ways that we couldn't have imagined. And then the other thing is, I defend the public fisc, the county's taxpayer dollars. Do we want to give away taxpayer dollars to greedy plaintiffs' attorneys who read a roadmap of a personal injury claim and then sue for millions of dollars saying that the county knew about this? No. That's why risk assessments are generally attorney-client privileged, and this one certainly is wrapped in that privilege, so that we can find out, okay, where can we improve? Where can we mitigate, risk? That is the purpose of the report, and we're doing our best, with it, or have been.
No, I appreciate that. And so when people are saying, maybe a certain percentage, or look at a redacted file and they think they're hiding something.
Right.
They must be hiding something that's important for the public to know. I mean, how does something like that get addressed from the legal perspective?
They're absolutely right. We're hiding something because we've asked someone to give us a unvarnished evaluation of where there are risks, liability risks or risks to safety, risks to operations, security risks. And that stuff is something that we need to keep behind closed doors for this time, so we can address those risks and do it on the inside without having it be handed to somebody on the outside as a weapon that would compromise the security of operations in the jail, put a lot of people in danger.
And obviously, not speaking on behalf of our county attorney, but looking at it as a whole, you obviously see this being something that has been, this is trustworthy. It's a trustworthy document, even with what is seen, and that is something that, again, is going to protect the public with this.
The document, and again, you look at the blacked out areas, those are going to be detailed facts that tell us where there's risk that we need to address, and gives us the opportunity to do that.
And acting lawfully and responsibly in the execution and release of this particular document the way that it is for the public to see.
So I mentioned the Hodai case. That's something that informs our analysis. There's also the AG's handbook in Chapter 6 that talks about how we apply public records law. And if we're going to invoke something as weighty as state's interest, what's the right way to do that? Now, I have handled public records at the civil side of the county attorney's office. I now have a deputy who's handling that. And I've given him the same gospel that I take to heart. We believe in transparency. I wish that we could give the public all of the information that they are curious about. But in these cases, we have to keep those things redacted in order to protect the interest of the taxpayers and not have money wastefully spent or compromise the security for our detention officers and the detainees. It is the humanitarian thing to do.
Well, thank you, Paul, for that word there. I was going to actually toss it to Sheriff Mark next, and just how do you reassure the public that everything in this report is being handled responsibly when they can't see the full report? How do you reassure them of that?
Well, number one is, and I kind of yielded to this a few minutes ago, is the fact that I'm not the expert of legal law when it comes to especially public records. Paul sitting to my left and Lori to my right, I rely on them for that support. And together in a partnership, I explain my concerns, it's done under executive session, done in confidentiality with legal, and last but not least is the operational security of that jail. And they take that into factor and tell me if they can protect that or not. And in this case, you just heard Paul talk about it. So this is a partnership. And I also say this is, our positions mean nothing. We have to earn our trust with the public. All of us have been out there working this. We're sitting in front of you today, not to hide anything, but to share why we're doing what we do, giving you the whys. And that's trust. And that's how we've done that. So as elected trusted sheriff for the last 13 years, I've heard very positive about the men and women that work at the sheriff's department, myself, and from the public. They like what we're doing. And this is the same thing. You got to trust in this case. We wanted, like Paul, I agree with Paul. I want to give this thing to the public. I want to give it out so bad, but I can't because of my position as sheriff. If I didn't care and I was all playing the game, have a look at it, I'd sneak it out there. But that's not how I am as a law enforcement officer. And our job is to protect confidentiality, whether it's for a victim or an operational risk.
Is there a version of this that people can see, the redacted version that's available for the public on the county website?
Yes, it's already been posted. It was posted, I believe, last night. Believe it or not, I read it for the first time, the redactions last night online. So this is their profession, their expertise, their training experience. I don't have that. So I rely on them every day when it comes to any kind of public records request.
So in addition to Paul Correa, we have Kevin Jamka here as well. And Kevin, if you want to sit down on the hot seat. Sheriff Mark, you want to introduce?
Yeah, Kevin's the president of our Deputy Sheriff's Association, which is the men and women within the sheriff's office. So I work very close with our association. We don't always agree, do we? Okay. And but at the end of the day is his job is to protect the men and women in the office. And I share that with him. But when it comes to like discipline, things like that, or we have to get down in the weeds on some operational issues, but together, we're working together for the best interest of the public, the community sheriff's office. So that's what Kevin does every day. And so I've asked him, come talk about where his optics are on the men and women at the jail.
And let's do that, Kevin. So thinking about this entire thing, it comes back to the jail district tax. And that is something that, again, if you are watching this, you have, and you're a Cochise County resident, it's in your mailbox or it's sitting on your table. Make sure you fill it out. We want you to be an educated voter most of all. And I don't necessarily want to say which way to vote, but we can use the opinions of professionals to at least have an educated opinion. And Kevin, in your opinion, where do things stand as far as the jail that you've seen over the course of your time here, the years and years looking at the way it's trended? What is necessary?
Total replacement. So I've spent 28 years in law enforcement in Cochise County, just over 26 with the sheriff's office. I've watched the jail. I've worked in the jail, worked a lot of people into the jail, and over the years, obviously it's declined, right? So it's time for a replacement. The jail tax, that's a vehicle to get us there, but at the end of the day, it needs to be replaced. And so from my perspective, in the Deputy Sheriff's Association, we're just here to put a human touch on it, and that is, you've heard from the sheriff, from the county attorney, but from the men and women that work in there every day, they go behind those walls. They deserve a safe place to work, and the people that are in there, they deserve a safe place. They're there, they're arrested, they're incarcerated, but they still deserve a safe place, and that's what they deserve.
And people often forget that, we think it's all about the law enforcement side, their protection of the jail. This is also for the inmates.
Right.
Yeah, you make a great point of that to make sure that they're okay. Because again, the fire that broke out, if you're just joining us, you need to rewind to the very beginning, because we just broke some news about a fire breaking out of the jail this morning, and in the kitchen, and how that could affect the inmates as well.
Absolutely. To be honest, I'm not a fan of going in the jail. The folks that work in there, they have a tough job, probably the toughest job, I'd argue. I'm not a fan of going in. And so think about a fire breaks out. If things aren't up to code, they're not up to par, perhaps the jail doors don't open, generators go down, things of this nature. People are trapped. Maybe you're trapped in a sally port in between two doors. It takes a while to get released. Now you have a lot of different concerns emerging.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for all you do, and for giving us these words and the thoughts from your perspective. I appreciate that. Lori, continuing on with the jail district, obviously, as our county attorney, and knowing the unredacted version of this, and just taking a tour of the jail itself that you've done many times, and seeing what's going on there in this upcoming election. I assume you are going to be voting in this jail tax election.
I already voted.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask, why you leaned the way that you possibly did?
I'm absolutely in favor of this jail tax. I was in favor of the last one. I was in favor of the last one not being overturned. And we need a new jail. This is the best way to do it. Because of this risk assessment and the security concerns to our men and women there and our inmates, we're going to have a new jail built one way or the other. And if you attended those town halls, the Board of Supervisors that were there, Mr. Antonori and Ms. Gomez, they said, be clear. The property taxes are going to go up to pay for this jail if we don't pass this sales tax. And we had the sales tax in place for 6 months. And I mean, I don't know if it's because the cost of everything is so expensive right now, but I didn't feel the sales tax. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's a very small half-cent sales tax. It's really kind of painless. And this is a way that it's not just the property owners.
Yeah, the homeowners and property owners. It literally makes everybody who
Right.
comes into the county, who visits, who
Yes,
shops.
exactly. So I am wholeheartedly in favor of passing this jail tax, and I would ask everybody to vote yes. If you have any questions and anybody wants to reach out to me with more questions. I had a question on Tuesday at a meeting I was at. Do we even need it now that the border is closed? And I said, absolutely. We watched the border open in January 2021, and then we watched it close in January 2025. We went from a high of 406 border crime cases in 2023 to we've only had 31 through August of this year. But we don't know what's going to happen in the next election. And January 2029, that border could open right back up. So we absolutely need this. This is a forward-looking jail. It's going to save costs in so many ways, like no transports for our early resolution court, like a better mental health facility where we can do in-house restorations to competency. There's just a million reasons why to vote yes and not any good reasons to vote no.
And Sheriff Mark, to finish this off, looking at this as a whole, what would it mean to the sheriff's office, the law enforcement officials, the legal side from the county attorney, for everyone to vote yes and to have that new jail being built?
We're taking the next step forward. It really is. One thing that the criminal justice system here in Cochise County, from all aspects, we've all grown our operations. We've all grown and modernized. The anchor, the Titanic in this is the jail. It truly is. It's the white elephant in the room that's just really holding us back. It is time to modernize that too. It's 40 years old. When I first started, not trying to age myself, it was the fact I was booking at the old courthouse, and then I watched them open the doors. 40 years later, time has surpassed its life now. It's time to build a new one. It's time to move forward. And I got to say this, and I'm using numbers from the Arizona Department of Revenue, Jeff, and this is something to put in perspective. In the day, it's all about the money. At the end of the day, no matter which side you're on, nobody tells me they disagree that we need a jail. One guy came up to me the other day, said, well, I'm not really sure we need one. And that's an opinion I respect. But at the end of the day, and I'll disagree with that person, but at the end of the day, it's all about the dollar bill. So the county, if this passes, is looking at a 15-year bond based on the business side and what they've shared in the community meetings. If you look at what's it going to cost an individual, what's going to cost you, Jeff, for 15 years as a citizen of Cochise County, $600 to $1,005 over 15 years. The worst case scenario is just over 1,000. Minimum is $600 in 15 years. That's $40 a year to $67 a year per citizen. I don't know how else we can do it. And we'll become 10 out of 15 sheriffs are already doing it. It's nothing we're doing that's unique here in Cochise County.
We're not inventing the wheel. It's literally using
well accepted.
systems that have been.
Yes, yeah. It's well accepted. So it brings us into modern time to meet the needs, the challenges of today's population, the people, and we're excited about taking it to the next level. I mean, because as we've talked, I mean, the ones that work in there, the community, the quality of life, and our inmates deserve that.
Without a doubt. And we'll wrap it up there. You can just set that down. I mean, my goodness gracious, what an interesting topic, an interesting conversation today. And again, if you're just joining us, we did break some news here at the beginning of this live video to talk about the fire that broke out at the jail. Rewind or started back over from the beginning to get all the details there. Thank you so much to Paul Correa. Thank you to Kevin Jamka. Thank you so much to County Attorney Lori Zucco. Thank you to Sheriff Mark Dannels. Thank you to Carol Kappas standing over here off side. Thank you to John Berger behind the camera. And most of all, thank you for watching. This is just something that we want to do to have the legal and law enforcement side of the community be able to educate you and know that with this report that has just been released, that you can go and see the redacted report on the Cochise County website. We'll have the information in the post description for you just to click on and go find it there. If you have questions, of course, these are our public officials. They're here for us, and they're here to answer your questions. They've done it at all the town halls, and then in individual areas where they've gone grocery shopping or wherever they've been to answer these important questions about why the new jail is needed. And it's going to happen one way or another, and finding the best way to do it is up to you as a voter to be able to decide that. So thank you so much for sharing this video to all of your Cochise County groups and any individuals in Cochise County who are curious about this whole topic and everything that's going on here. We appreciate you doing that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. And thank you to Cool FM Live for being able to bring news like this, relevant news, relevant information to the public through this platform. Have a great day, everybody. We'll check in with you again later on. Thank you, guys.